But should the surges rise and rest delay to come, blessed be the tempest, kind the storm which drives us nearer home. Blessed be the tempest, kind the storm which drives us nearer home. Soon shall our doubts and fears all yield to thy control. Thy tender mercy shall illume the midnight of the soul. Thy tender mercy shall illume the midnight of the soul. Teach us in every state to make thy will our own, and when the joys of sense depart, to live by faith alone. And when the joys of sense depart, to live by faith alone. I'm pressing on the upward way, new heights I'm gaining every day, still praying as I'm onward bound. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on stable and higher place than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. My heart has not desired to stay where doubts arise and fears display. No song may swell where these abound.
All right, here we go, folks. Hope you're doing well here this afternoon, this Monday afternoon. I'm going to drink my Carl Winter Special here. There we go. I don't know what the deal is with this thing. Doesn't want to snap right. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. I think you can all hear me okay, Lord willing. Anyway, it looks like I'm coming in loud enough. That's usually not a problem for me to come in loud enough. Usually you can hear me okay, but you let me know if you can't. Let's see, who do we have on here? Pilgrim Lady was first, and we have Jacob Yates in for the second. Rachel Marshall, Joe McDonald, Carl Winters, Anne Mary, Elijah Morgan, traveling through parts unknown. All right, let's see here. Harriet. I don't know who that is, I don't think. Kayla's mom. Maggie Peters. I don't know if I know that name. For some reason, I think I do, but I don't know. Thomas Staniland. How are you doing, Brother Thomas? Hope you're doing well. Narrowboat Mum. Let's see, Janine is here. Cindy Moretti. All right. Carl can't get into America. We're not going to let Carl into the States. You kidding me? Nobody's going to let Carl in. Okay. Northern Alberta, Canada, Shelley. Good to have you on, Shelley. Hope you're doing well. Clint Cowles. All right, Clint. Looks like some new people I haven't talked to before. Maybe some new listeners, or maybe you just haven't come in yet. Nick Pallone. All right, good. Well, we got a good crowd on here. What did Elijah say? What did he say? I missed it. Trucking through California. Oh, man. Well, yesterday I yelled my guts out yesterday, I think. I think I literally I was pretty pumped up yesterday. And I pretty much, I actually didn't blow my voice out. I was surprised it actually held up fine through all that yelling. But Shelley Griesbrecht, Northern Alberta, Canada. We have a lot of people that listen to us from Canada. Actually, quite a few people from Canada. Someday I'll get to Canada, but you're also spread out. I don't know if I could see any of you, but that might happen. I wouldn't mind going to Canada someday, though. I'd like to go there. I drove all the way up to the border of Minnesota and Canada and turned around. That was fun. Beautiful place up there, especially in the summertime. Right about now. It was like May or something like that. We did that. And yeah, it was actually. I think it was 2 years ago. In May, I think. Maybe it was 3. I think it was 3 years ago. Boy, time flies by fast. Anyway, that's what we do. Or that's what we did, and had a good time there. I see 57 on. Seems like people are coming aboard here. Maybe they're interested in this topic today. I would be. I'm a little sick and tired of it, to be honest with you. Now, I'm not too worried about it for me, but I see it all going on here, and it's really kind of annoying, to be honest with you, watching it unfold around me, and then reading articles about it and everything, and hearing all these people practicing narking off their neighbors and everything like that. It's just like the most ridiculous sounding thing in the world for Americans to be acting like a bunch of Soviet Union or Nazi, Gestapo turncoats. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, I mean, to hear that and to see that being pushed on here, it's something that we ought to be talking about here. Because really, let me tell you something, okay? If you're an American especially, but I mean, this goes for everybody, you ought to mind your own stinking business anyway. You know, the Bible speaks about this. The Bible speaks about this, and in a number of places, and I'm going to show you some of those places. Look at this. There's a few different terms for this. One is called busybodies. The Bible says here, for we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies. You know, and they're creating a bunch of busybodies that are nosing into people's business. That are nosing into people's business and what they're doing. Right? You know, they're nosing into everybody's business to see what they're doing. I mean, seriously, I was standing outside with a few people the other day, and you can watch the people look at you like it's the craziest thing in the world, like you're a bunch of zombies, or like you're a bunch of aliens that just stepped off the plane, that just stepped off the spaceship, and you just kind of just like came down, and they're looking at you like you're a gray alien or something because you're standing there with people or you're around people. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I don't care about your stupid tickets, and I don't care about your stupid fake orders. I'm not going to not be around people because you're a bunch of weirdos that made up some stupid orders in your mind and think that everybody has to follow them because you think you're God and you signed some piece of paper, which isn't even the law of the land. It isn't even the law of the land. The Bible says, for we hear there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies. Look what he says here. Now then, that are such we command and exhort by our Lord Jesus Christ that with quietness they work and eat their own bread. You know what? Here's the thing. If God's people are out there doing that, that's pretty much a big shame. If you claim to be a Christian, you're out there doing that and act like a bunch of Nazis, act about it like a bunch of Nazi sympathizers. How sad. How absolutely sad. How repulsive is that? It's absolutely repulsive for people to do that anyway in the first place. Right? So, look at this in 1 Timothy 5:13. And with all they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house. And not only idle, but tattlers also. right? Tattlers also. Busybodies. Says they're tattlers. That's a Bible word right there. See that? That's what that is. One who tattles, an idle talker, one that tells tales. Busybodies. Into other men's affairs. Right? It's really none of your business. Is it? It's really none of your business what somebody else is doing. It's none of your business what somebody else is doing when they're walking around in public or whatever the case. It's just unbelievable to me that I think people actually would do that in America. It's just, it is sort of unreal. You know, to think that here's people in America that are doing things like that, right? I mean, come on. Really? Are we really seeing people in America do things like that? Unbelievable. The New York mayor said, "Hey, you need to be." This all started, I mean, a long time ago with see something, say something. See something, say something. If you see something, say something. Like trying to turn America into a bunch of stinking narcs, like all of America. Like they're going to go narc somebody off all the time. Well, there's a difference in witnessing a crime, like somebody being murdered, somebody being beaten, somebody being robbed, somebody being stolen from. I'm not talking about any of that. Those are all crimes. It isn't a crime in America to walk outside. It isn't a crime in America to talk to people. It's not a crime to go function in society. It's not a crime to leave your house and go to the grocery store. It isn't a crime to go pay a bill. It isn't a crime to go to Walmart. It isn't a crime to go to any of these places. That's not a crime. None of those things are crimes. I'm not talking about stopping people from doing something wicked. I'm talking about somebody walking down the street, walking next to 4 or 5 people. Right now, some king signs an order, and now we're all a bunch of criminals because I talked to somebody. Well, hey, you know what? There's a shortage on toilet paper right now. So let me help you out with something. You can take that little executive order of yours and you can use it to wipe your rear end with. That's what I think, okay? That's what I think about your executive order. That's what I think about, that's how much I think it's worth, right? It might make some good toilet paper for some really crazy people that need to wipe their rear end with it. What do you think about that? That's what I think about that executive order. That's what I think about a governor making an order that violates the Constitution of the United States, that violates the law of the land that has been here for over 200 years, and says that he's going to make a decree and an order like that. I think it could make some pretty good toilet paper if you printed it out. That's what I think. Is that too strong for anybody? That a bunch of little despots are running around dictator, telling people what they can do? Sure, I know it's too strong for some of you. I get it. But I'm telling you, look at this. Okay, let me give you a perfect example. People that are the hardest ever. Governors that are the hardest ever on this. Look at this guy. NYC mayor asked people to text cops photos of anyone not following corona rules. Oh, let me switch. There you go. To text cops photos of anyone not following corona rules. So a Twitter user reported de Blasio. Well, here he is. Here it is right here. And by the way, I've preached on the streets before. I've obeyed I've been respectful to police officers because I knew they had a job to do and the law to back up, and the law, they had to follow the law and they had to do things they had to do. This is not the law of the land. It is not. Okay, there's one person. How about, is it the Chicago mayor? Let me give you another one. Here we go. How about this one? You like this one? Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot defends hairstylist visit amid coronavirus outbreak. I'm the public face of this city. I'm on national media, and I'm out in the public eye. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, a Democrat, defended a haircut she received recently despite salons and barbershops shut down under the state stay-at-home order. See something, say something. See something, say something. Danielle, I'm going to tell you something right now. You're saying this got heated fast. Calm down, everyone. I don't intend to calm down. I have no calm down in me. I don't want to calm down. I want to stoke it up. I want it to be on the front page of the Northfield News. I want it to be everywhere. I want people to wake up out of their sleep and out of their slumber and understand that, you know what? They're going to play the Pied Piper right into the gulag if you let them. That's what they'll do. And you can dance to that beat, but I ain't dancing to that beat. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm not going to willingly just dance to this and watch them steal everything that they charge us to pay for. The controversy began when the stylist posted photos with the mayor on Facebook last weekend, thanking her for her hard work and saying she had the pleasure of giving Mayor Lightfoot a hair trim. The stylist was wearing a mask and gloves. The mayor said in defense of her haircut during a press conference earlier this week, "I'm the public face of the city. I'm on a national media," in her greatest, hugest lesbian voice you could ever, in the greatest lesbian voice, manly lesbian, I eat people voice you could ever imagine. Right there. That's it. Right there. Right? The stylist was wearing a mask and gloves, the mayor said in defense of the haircut. Somebody asked me a question. I have a serious question. It appears that it may be that the government wants these rebellions and protests to take place. Trump is encouraging it. Do you think it's wise to play into it? Yes. I think it's wise to play it like I would play Monopoly. I think it's wise to roll the dice. I think it's wise to pass go. I think it's wise to collect $200. I think it's wise to jump on community chest and free parking. I think it's wise to roll the dice and play the game. Absolutely, I believe it is. Absolutely, I think it is. Because you know why? Because these little despots don't like it. That's why. Do you think the governor of Minnesota likes the fact that 4,000 people are standing outside his front door? Do you think he likes that? No, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it at all. Whatever game Trump and the governors are playing with each other, that's the game they're playing. I'm not playing any games. Well, I don't live in make-believe land of where something might happen, could happen, and I don't live there. I live in reality of what I'm dealing with right now. And this is what I'm dealing with right now. And we need to deal with what we have to deal with right now, not what could happen. First of all, they know they can't stop it. Because how are you going to stop 4,000 people from showing up at the Capitol? How are you going to stop it? Remember, they're sitting around with hundreds of thousands of people with nothing to do. Just let that sink into your brain. It's not good to leave hundreds of thousands of people with nothing to do. Do you understand that? It's really bad for them. Really, 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 really bad for them. Well, I can explain to you if you don't understand why Trump is stoking the flames. Trump is stoking this flames because he wants the country opened up because elections are coming in November. And he wants to get the country opened up as soon as possible. And the Democrats, now that they've had the power to close down their states and they can make Trump look bad, they can keep him looking bad, they won't open their states. That's the game. That's the game. I just don't live in that whole conspiracy land because I don't have time to play there. I just don't. I live with reality. Reality is that I pastor a church. I preach the word of God to people. We assemble like a church, and we do what God has called us to do. I don't have time for any of that other stuff. Whatever comes my way comes my way. But I can't live with that. I can't play that 3D chess game with people. It doesn't. Half the time it never works out and it's not accurate. So I just don't waste my time with it. It's just a waste of time. The mayor added the public is more concerned with other issues. I think what really people want to talk about is we're talking about the people dying here. Well, then why can't everybody get a haircut, lady? Why can't everybody get a haircut, lady? Why are you the only one that gets a haircut? And I use that term loosely. Lady. Very, very loosely concerning her. Extremely loose concerning the fake man standing there, right there. You know, they don't even hide their wickedness anymore.
China restricted travel inside Wuhan. Yeah, couldn't travel to or from Wuhan if you lived in China. Not the rest of the world. And remember, while the virus...
Here we go. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio told New Yorkers Saturday they could snap smartphone photos of social distancing violence and take them to the authorities, and enforcement will come. We will stop those dirty people. We will stop those people from exercising their rights. We'll take a picture of them. We'll take a picture of them and we'll send them all across the world, or all across every police station, and we'll get those people off the streets. We'll make sure that they don't walk down the sidewalk. We'll make sure that they don't go where they're not supposed to go. We'll make sure they stay at home. Here we go. Watch this. Let's watch this.
New Yorkers, you have been extraordinary at social distancing. And let me tell you, it has taken every fiber of our beings to figure out how to do this, because we're warm, emotional people. We're used to being close to each other. We're used to being packed in the subway cars, and we've had to do the exact opposite and figure out how to keep distance. It's not natural for us. It's not normal for us, but you've done it. You've done an amazing job. Now, look, thank you, everyone who's done it the right way, but we still know there's some people who need to get the message. And that means sometimes making sure
there's some naughty people out there. Them's been bad. They've been walking around in public. Those naughty people. You tell on those naughty people. You don't let them walk around in public. You don't let them have friends. You don't let them shake somebody's hand. You don't let them hug somebody. You get them naughty people. You call the popo on those naughty people. That's what you do. You get those naughty people. How dare you think you ought to have human interaction? What's wrong with you people anyway?
The enforcement is there to educate people and make clear we got to have social distancing. So now it is easier than ever. When you see a crowd, when you see a line that's not distanced, when you see a supermarket that's too crowded, anything, you can report it right away so we can get help there to fix the problem. And now it's as simple as taking a photo. All you got to do is take the photo and put the location with it, and bang, send a photo like this, and we will make sure that enforcement comes right away.
We will make sure and send the police right to that guy or that girl or those people that are having too much human interaction, and we're going to stop them. We'll bust them, man. We'll write them a ticket. We'll break them up. We'll get them. You just watch.
Text the photo to 311-692, and action will ensue. Enforcement will come to get the help we need, or you can use the 311 app, send that photo there, and you'll make sure immediately there's follow-up. Look, this is important. I want to keep reminding people, it's about saving lives.
Look, it's about saving lives. You have to understand that. We shut down the country so people will kill themselves and lose their businesses, and mentally challenged people will go insane, but we're doing it to save people from the naughty flu. So just listen to us and narc your neighbors off. It's for your own good. You have to understand that. You got to be narcs in the nation, because that's the only way. That's the only way that you can be safe. Those people are putting you in danger. Never mind that you can stay home and never go around anybody if you want to. And you can go live in a pop-up tent somewhere, or you can go live downstairs in your basement, huddled underneath your covers. That's fine. But no, no, no. Everybody must do that.
Sending that photo in is going to help make sure that people are kept apart, and that's going to stop the disease from spreading, and that's going to save lives.
It's going to stop the disease from spreading. It's going to save, you keep people apart. Who do you think you are going to see Grandma anyway? You criminal. Right? Who do you think you are going to see that, you criminal? Who do you think you are going to do that? You got no right to do that. All right, there you go. So we got one mayor. We got that same guy who's breaking the stay-at-home order right there. Look at him. That's what he's doing. Then you got this lady that put some worse draconian actions on Chicago. Right? And then she's out getting her hair done while you peasants stay home. Better stay home. Don't be going out doing nothing. Little peasants, who do you think you are? Here's another one. Here's our lovely governor here. Right? Reports to stay-at-home hotline flood in. Waltz says it is needed to relieve the 9/11 workers. So literally in Minnesota, And by the way, I'm going to say this, and it sounds really bad, but I'm just going to say it, okay? Because it's just true. Before I was saved, I lived in Minnesota too. And before I was saved, I was like, this state is the biggest bunch of baby narcs I've ever seen in my life. They would start a fight with you. This is back when I was doing things that I shouldn't do, okay? I wasn't saved. They would start a fight with you, and the minute they start a fight with you, they would call the cops on you. And where I come from, if you called the cops on somebody, oh man, were you a loser. You were like the biggest, I'm talking about when I was a lost person, okay? You were the biggest loser in the whole world if you, like, you just really, if you were a guy and you called the cops, you were like, seriously. Even if you called the cops on your worst enemy, you were a stinking loser. Right? Big time loser. Anyway, so when I saw this, it doesn't surprise, or when I see this, it doesn't surprise me. But because people in Minnesota, but seriously, 911 workers are the calls are being flooded in. Look, I was standing out yesterday with some guys outside, and I'm gonna tell you what. People were going down the bike trail, and they were literally like staring at us like we were the most wicked people in the whole world. Like some old lady stopped and stared at me for like 5 minutes. I swear she did. It was like 5 minutes, and I just kept looking at her. And I was like, I mean, you don't think I'm going to look away from you, do you? Like I'm afraid or something? Like I'm doing something wrong? Like I'm not gonna like run away or anything. I'm not gonna go hide. Right? It's unbelievable. So here he is. He says, reports to stay-at-home hotline flood in. I mean, people are actually telling their daddy state on people. Like, who's that bored? Well, I guess there's nothing to do right now for a lot of people, so I guess I'll put it that way. But who's that pathetic that sits around all day is like, you know, I saw those kids playing over there. I think I'm going to call the cops on them. I really have nothing better to do. So I think I'm going to call the police on people. What kind of mentality are we creating by doing that? Think about that. Like, what type of mentality are you creating in people by doing that? I'll tell you what. You're building a base for a bunch of mandatory reporters. Minnesotans are nearly a week into the stay-at-home order. Well, this was last week. Now we're like, I don't know, months into it, it feels like. But anyway, Minnesotans are nearly a week into stay-at-home orders aimed at limiting the spread of the coronavirus in Minnesota. And a hotline report to those congregating in large groups or failing to keep a sizable distance between themselves and others is generating hundreds of calls. I saw you over there. You did not keep a sizable distance from you and that other person. I'm calling the police on you. I mean, what a weird call that would be for police to come out and be like, okay, and get like their measuring stick out and be like, are you 6 feet away from these people? No, I think I'm about 5'8" away from them. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And if you don't ignore it now and you don't fight against it, it'll be the normal. State emergency workers this week said they tracked more than 500 calls since the line got up and running last weekend. The stay-at-home executive order allows Minnesotans to go outdoors. I mean, can you believe this? I mean, listen to the language of this. The stay-at-home executive orders allows Minnesotans to go outdoors and exercise an activity if they observe social distancing requests. Oh, it's a request? It's a request? Well, I'll tell you something. Somebody asked, can we change it if that's the way it's going to happen? Well, I'll tell you something right now. I'm sure not going to give in to the government telling me I can't have church. I'm not giving into that. I'm not going to let them tell me, and I already stated that very plainly, that I'm not going to let them tell me that I can't that I can't pastor a church and that I can't and we can't assemble as a church. I refuse to allow that. Nope. So if we roll over and give into it now, it'll always happen. And not all Minnesotans have been observing that rule. Reports to state officials indicate the hotline came under fire this week and Republican lawmakers over social media. And in the news release, calls on Governor Tim Walz to take down the hotline email address used to report suspected violations of the order. Republican lawmakers have objected to the hotline and said Minnesotans instead should aim to educate one another about the importance of not congregating and maintaining space. Yeah, here's his article on it. Gazelka said, here we go. Here's the governor. I hope it's on here. Well, anyway, Minnesota's top elected Republican said Tuesday he wants Governor Tim Walz to take down the COVID-19 hotline, which he said is a way for neighbors to tattle on each other for violating the stay-at-home order. Please take this hotline down, Senate Majority Leader Paul Gazelka East Go Lake said on Twitter. It's not necessary. It's not how Minnesotans want to treat each other. We can all show a bit of kindness to our neighbors, and we manage our times and needs differently in the stay-at-home efforts. It's being used, said the governor, and we simply want to let people be able to call and let folks know. It's for their own good if we see people that may not be as informed on this. It's an educational piece. Calling it, one Republican state rep said, calling it ratting on neighbors and using the hashtag big government. He said his executive order grants him power to fine or jail people who violate the stay-at-home order. Well, I'll be honest with you. I'd like to challenge that. I'd like to challenge whether the fact you have that authority to do that. I'd like to challenge that whether that's constitutional for you to do that. That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to challenge the fact whether you have the authority to throw people in jail for that. That's what I'd like to know. You could throw people in jail for talking to somebody on the street. Too close. Or having somebody over at your house. I'd like to challenge you on that. The right to private property. Because I'm going to tell you what. I'm not the lawbreaker if I violate this. He's the lawbreaker for writing it and trying to enforce it because it's not law. He's broken the law. by doing that. Oh, this should be interesting. Hang on a second.
Message from both Minnesota COVID-19, and that's why we are. Cases of Minnesota has more than 1,600 confirmed cases of the virus. 70 people have died. In Wisconsin, more than 3,300 people are sick. 144 people there have died. We want you to be as informed as possible about COVID-19, and that's why we are asking for your questions. Tonight, I FaceTimed with Helen Strike, the president of Regina Hospital in Hastings and River Falls Area Hospital in Wisconsin, and she shared her thoughts on the days ahead. We know that you work in both Minnesota and Wisconsin, but do you see a difference between states really when it comes to fighting this virus?
We don't see a big difference in western Wisconsin compared to the Twin Cities and Minnesota. I think mainly because we've most of our everything happens.
Hang on. Anyway, I'm not worried about that. Let's see. Minnesota been doing a nice job social distancing, they say, but there are ways to report large gatherings to cities and police departments. In Bloomington, parks remain open and a newly formed park response team actively monitors it. We have a new parks response team. If we see anyone violating the order and not being 6 feet apart from each other, then by the power invested in us, right? We're gonna go ahead and just cook their goose for them. We're gonna call the police and separate them all. And man, they're a bunch of criminals, right? That's what they are. Bunch of criminals. Who do they think they are anyway? Right? Bunch of criminals running around, thinking they can talk to people in the park. What's the matter with those people anyway? Don't you know people can get sick? Don't you know that all of your rights as a citizen go out the window because people can get a cold? People can get sick, the flu? I know. I just should be that guy that just shuts up, right, about everything and just don't make a big deal about it, preacher. Just don't make a big deal about it. It reminds me when they were at the when they were taking the babies down to, I think it was Paul told me the story one time of when they would take the babies down to sacrifice them to Moloch, and they would throw them in the fire. They would bang the drums so the women's screams wouldn't be there to hear the women screaming. Sing a little louder. Sing a little louder. Sing a little louder. Right? How about this? Here's the way it's working around the country. With the new coronavirus COVID-19 sweeping across the U.S., the residents of all but five states are now under a full or partial stay-at-home order. Alaska declares its order on March 28th. They locked her all down. Additionally, an individual who goes against the order may, under certain circumstances, be charged with reckless endangerment if they're risking the lives of others. In Alaska, that is a Class A misdemeanor, and a person can be jailed for up to 1 year because you signed an executive order that said it was against the law. So Like, what if you signed one that said the Bible was against the law? Would everybody on here that believes you should just, or if there is anybody on here that believes you should just submit, would you submit to that too? Because right now they're telling you you're not allowed to go to church. But they won't say that. Some states will, but this state won't. So, do you just obey that or what? Do you just obey that order when they tell you not to go to church? And they tell you, then they sign an executive order that says that they sign an executive order saying that you can't read the Bible anymore, or they outlaw the Bible. Are we just like, okay, well, no big deal? Let's see. Over in Arizona, violators could be charged with a Class 1 misdemeanor, which is a fine up to $2,500. California. Boy, that's a Nazi place, isn't it? Newsom said that residents and businesses would be subject to misdemeanor penalties for violating the order, but he hoped that social pressure would push people to do the right thing. Nope, don't care. Don't care about social distancing. Or social pressure, I mean. Don't care about that. Look, I'm a Baptist preacher that has preached the gospel in the streets for many years and has took a stand by God's grace for his word. It really isn't effective that much. Social pressure. Okay, he said, however, the state has since had to find some people who were in violation, including a surfer in Manhattan who received a dude was surfing in Manhattan. He was surfing, and they fined him $1,000. Who in the world is he going to infect surfing? Does anybody not think that's the dumbest thing in the world? He was surfing. Well, that you feel that way because you don't have a church. But I can tell you something right now. When you're a member of a local New Testament church and you've covenanted with the Lord to be together, I can't go back. I can't just erase everything God has showed me. Like I'm not playing make believe here. I can't erase what God has showed me and act like it's not real. I can't do that. And I'm not asking anybody else to do that. I'm telling you flat out that I can't do that. Governor Doug Ducey, he exempted, okay, anyway. "99.9% of this can be done without any criminal penalty," said the mayor. "But we're prepared if anybody's an outlier, because one person can be super spreader. One person can kill someone. One person can kill themselves." Wow. Look. Let me show you what Hercules said. All right. I'll show you what Hercules said. Look, this is for real, okay? I want to show you that this is for real stuff here, okay? I want you to think about this. Now look at this. We can't ignore these things. Man crushed by steamroller dies of coronavirus. The struggle is real. All right? Hercules, he said this. He said, when the state puts you in jail for walking in a park with your child because it's too dangerous, but lets criminals out of jail for their health, and when the state tells you it's dangerous to get treated by a doctor, yet says liquor stores are essential, it's not about your health. Here's another important one. Man eaten by shark dies from coronavirus. Pelosi blames Trump. That's funny. He could have done more. Oh, that's funny. Here's my signed permission slip to leave my house. Here it is right here. Here's another good one by Hercules. When the state lets you go to the grocery store or hardware store, but is demanding mail-in voting, it's not about your health. Wake up, people. If you think this is all about your health, you're mistaken. Please open your eyes. Stop being led like blind sheep. How about this one? When the state prevents you from buying cucumber seeds because it's dangerous, but allows in-person lottery ticket sales, and when the state tells you it's dangerous to go golf or fish alone, but they can get makeup and hair done for 5 TV appearances, it's not about your health. That's a good point. That's a good point right there. Good point. Good point. Oh, here's another one you ought to think about when you say everybody's in on this thing. Well, Facebook won't allow promotion of protests that defy government's guidance on social distancing. So Facebook is starting to erase posts of people that are protesting out there. So no, I don't think the powers that be like protesting that much. I really don't think they do. Let's see. Where's the California one? That was a good one. Here we go. Or this is the one. Anyway. How about Colorado? What'd they say? This state did not specify its fine, but said that it's going against the order is considered breaking the law. No, it's not. And you know it's not. We are calling for voluntary compliance by all affected. However, local law enforcement agencies have the authority to force this law. Wait. That's not a law. That's not a law. The governor's order is not a law. Not a law. Why would you call for voluntary compliance if it's not? You don't call for voluntary compliance on burglary. You don't call for voluntary compliance on public intoxication. You don't call for voluntary compliance for any other crime. But on this, you're calling for voluntary compliance. Because it's a joke. It's not the law. That's why they know it. Delaware. $500 fine or 6 months in jail for each violation. Hey, does anybody at all think this weird? Okay, you ready for this? Here, can I give you something weird? Here's something weird. Why would you put people in jail for breaking this when you're emptying the prisons out? So you're going to put me in jail for up to 90 days in Minnesota for breaking your order, but you're emptying prisons out. Does anybody see the stupidity in that? It's garbage is what it is, and they know it. Violators could be put up into jail for 60 days in Florida. Governor Brian Kemp also criticized for his response to COVID. The state is not yet to announce the details and order of its penalties. That time, Hawaii's stay-at-home order was put into place March 25th. Violators will face a $5,000 fine or up to 1 year in jail for surfing, right? For going out to the beach and getting sun. The state went under its order in March 25th, and officials said they hope not to penalize violators in Ohio. State and local law enforcement will enforce, but they are taking an educational approach with our citizens. It's up to local jurisdiction to enforce and charge anyone found in violation in Kansas. Well, that's pretty good. In Indiana, any violators could be charged with a Class B misdemeanor, which includes a fine up to $1,000 and up to 180 days in jail. Oh. I see. For what? Healthy at home and did not specify a fine or amount for violators. Kentucky. Healthy at home. Sounds great. Louisiana order, which went into effect on March 23rd, does not specify a fine. Government John Bell Edwards said March 30th that residents need to do a better job of sticking to the order. Larry Hogan said, "We are no longer asking or suggesting Marylanders to stay at home. We're going to order them." Michigan, yeah, that lady's just a Nazi. "We don't want them to be arrested," said Governor Walz in Minnesota. "This requires voluntary social compliance," he said. See, these guys want to ask you to volunteer to give up your rights with no ending date to when they're going to end it. As if they're the one that gave you the rights. They did not. Rights are recognized by the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. They do not grant rights. They recognize rights. That's how it works. By the way, let me say this, and I'll say it with all sincerity. You can't divorce being a Christian from God's church in that sense and act like the local church is not of any importance when I can tell you a list of Christians down through the ages that died for the right to assemble, that died in their assemblies, that their whole churches were destroyed. Again, love to Christ translates in love to the brethren. It translates in love for others. And it translates into obedience. That's how it works. And people don't really understand that. So see, people are getting tired of losing their businesses. And by the way, just like churches are tired of not assembling. By the way, and I understand how people that have never been really strong local church people, they've never assembled, they've never had a church really, they've never been a part of that. I've heard some people tell me they wouldn't die for baptism. Oh, I wouldn't die for baptism. I've heard people say that. And I'm not, by the way, when I say this, I'm not picking on anybody here. I'm not singling anybody out, picking on anybody. As David Ickes will show you on Wednesday when we talk about this, the Universal Invisible Church, this is why people have been kind of detoured from the necessity of being in a local church. I'm not talking about that you're not saved. What I'm saying is the necessity of the believer to be with other believers, to be assembled together with the saints. That's what I'm talking about, friend. That's right, Tracy. The term public servant has lost its meaning. That's right. Here's all these questions that are up here. Let's see. Can you be arrested for violating the coronavirus stay-at-home order? The Charlotte Observer. Let's see what Charlotte says here. Whoops, I think I got the volume off.
An issue that we're dealing with right now, as you're well aware. Have an issue to you as a community today, to the entire Charlotte-Mecklenburg community. We do have an issue that we're dealing with right now, as you're well aware. This pandemic has caught us all off by guard, but also, more importantly, it's showing what we need to do to work together. You see us as first responders, officers here at Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, the fire department, medic, all coming together to work together. I'm also very encouraged by the work of our public health professionals. They're really stepping up, working collaboratively, the city and the county almost seamlessly. And that's fantastic. That's something you as residents here of this region should be proud of. But I do have an ask. With this declaration this morning here for the county to stay in homes, to shelter in place, it's going to be a challenge that we all need to now be a part of. So the expectation is not just on your first responders. And mind you, they have families too. They're worried about things that are going on in their lives as well. But now you have to step up and show them that first you support them, and secondly, you're going to comply with this declaration for the betterment of this whole region.
So basically what they're using is they're using emotional tactics to get people to comply. They're playing on people's emotions. All these first responders. I got to be honest with you. I'm sick and tired of hearing that every nurse, doctor, teacher, EMT, everybody, they're all heroes. They're all heroes. They're all heroes. They're all heroes. I'm so sick of hearing it. It's make me puke sick to hear it. I'm tired of hearing it. Let's see. It's sad the people I know that have distorted to the subject of baptism, water dogs, make me feel uncomfortable even to talk about it. Sometimes I teach my children the truth about it, though. Baptism is very important. What happens if the government votes to remove the First Amendment from the Constitution? Well, that would take a ratification of all the states to do that. And that's not going to happen. In our lifetime, anyway.
We need you to do that for us. They need you to do that for them. They may not ask you, but I will on their behalf. Because our job is to also enforce this declaration here at CMPD. And we will.
Yep.
We will do it, though, respectfully. We will do it professionally. Right now, we're encouraged because we've been dealing with this thing now for a matter of weeks. And we've been getting voluntary compliance. We don't expect that to change. The reason we're doing this is to keep everyone safe.
Whatever. I'm so sick of stinking hearing this. And then they poison us with the water. They poison us with all this food and all this other garbage. And then you're acting like you're going to save us from this virus. I am sorry if me being cynical comes out, but I am so cynical of people trying to tell me that they have my best interests at heart like that. It's just ridiculous. It's just such a bunch of nonsense. Oh my goodness, is it nonsense? Let's see. Officers begin enforcement. Police officer offer no enforcement for violating Idaho stay-at-home order. Well, yeah, they don't, because in Idaho, you don't want to mess around with that too much. Here's what Wisconsin law enforcement says.
The order went into effect on March 25th and will stay in place until at least April 24th. Green Bay Police Chief Andrew Smith says so far his department hasn't issued any citations, but residents should be aware of the consequences of violating the order.
Listen, they could be looking at up to 30 days in jail or up to a $250 fine or both. But we have not had to do that so far.
Smith says departments want residents to voluntarily comply and that they will not stop people without reasonable suspicion. Violating the stay-at-home order is a criminal violation. The district attorney's office in each county will handle citations. Alana Watson, Wisconsin Public.
See, I just think these people need to be sued. That's what I think. I think they need to be sued. I think if they give the violation, they need to be sued. It needs to be taken to court. It needs to be taken all the way to the Supreme Court. It needs to be tried. It needs to be. Whether an order has the same effect as a law. Yep. Let's see here. Oops. Let me find the one I was looking for here. I wonder if I erased that one on accident. Let me see. Here we go. Let's go to the next one here. So all these people are like snitching. Oops.
Hi, Minnesota. Governor Tim Walz here. We're in an unprecedented situation in our fight against COVID-19. Please note that the state of Minnesota and our private sector partners are doing everything we can to keep you safe, but we need your help. Minnesotans, stay home. Let's flatten the curve on COVID. Let's make sure that we keep our family, our friends, and our neighbors safe. And if you need more information, please go to the Minnesota Department of Health website. Together, Minnesotans will defeat this and come out better on the other side. Thank you.
Okay, there you go. There's your pep talk. There's your so what do we have here? Oops, let me go to that other one. We got a bunch of tattletales that we're producing in society today that are basically telling on people, right? They're basically telling on people wherever they go. And what do you think? Where do you think this goes from here? I'll ask you some questions. Where do you think this goes from here with people tattling on each other and setting people up in government to tell on each other, or in the country to tell on each other? Where do you think this is going to go? Let's see here. Let me switch that over here. Put that there. Put that there.
Like a river glorious is God's perfect peace, over all victorious in its bright increase. Perfect yet it floweth, fuller every day. Perfect yet it groweth, deeper all the way. Stayed upon Jehovah, hearts are fully blessed, finding as he promised perfect peace and rest. Hidden in the hollow of his blessed hand, never foe can follow, never traitor stand. Not a surge of worry, not a shade of care, not a blast of hurry, touch the Spirit there. Stayed upon Jehovah, hearts are fully blessed, finding as he promised perfect peace and rest. Every joy or trial falleth from above, traced upon our dial by the Son of Love. Him fully, all for us to do. They who trust Him wholly find Him wholly true. Stayed upon Jehovah, hearts are fully blessed, finding as He promised perfect peace and rest.
Meanwhile, as the White House and Congress close in on a deal for more
He
coronavirus.
took my burdens all away, up to a brighter day. He gave me a song. He gave me a song, a wonderful song. A wonderful song, a wonderful song I now can sing. In my heart joy bells ring. He gave me a song. He gave me a song, a wonderful song. A wonderful song. He gave me a song. He gave me a song to sing about. To sing about. He lifted me. He lifted me from sin and doubt. From sin and doubt. Oh, praise His name. Oh, praise His name. He is my King. He is my King. A wonderful song. A wonderful song. He is to me. He is to me. Brighter the way grows every day, walking the heavenly way. He gave me a song. He gave me a song, a wonderful song. A wonderful song, a wonderful song I now can sing. Praises to Him, my King. He gave me a song. He gave me a song, a wonderful song. A wonderful song. He gave me a song. He gave me a song to sing about. To sing about. He lifted me. He lifted me from sin and doubt. Oh, praise His name. Oh, praise His name. He is my King. He is my King. A wonderful song. A wonderful song. He is to me. He is to me. I am redeemed, no more to die, never to say goodbye. He gave me a song. He gave me a song, a wonderful song. A wonderful song, and some of these days in that fair land, sing with the chorus grand. He gave me a song. He gave me a song, a wonderful song. A wonderful song. He gave me a song. He gave me a song to sing about. To sing about. He lifted me. He lifted me from sin and doubt. From sin and doubt. Oh, praise His name. Oh, praise His name. He is my King. He is my King. A wonderful song. A wonderful song. He is to me. He is to me.
All right, let's see here. Yep, it's authoritarian government. Yeah, that's for sure. It is working on the mentality of people, and there's no evidence that what they're doing is work to do anything. When you when you have problem reaction solution, and you make problems in areas bigger. I'm not saying that there's no coronavirus, or there is, and there has been in certain areas, but you know, the thing is that it's not what they're making it out to be in a lot of areas. It isn't, and the sad thing is that it's turned into something that it isn't, and it's being used to strip the liberties of so many people. You know, it's being. I mean, look at this. Let's listen to this.
Tired this year, worshippers attending Kentucky Easter drive-in service find nails dumped on the road, police presence.
Kentucky Christians who attended drive-in services on Easter, despite warnings from the governor to stay home over the coronavirus pandemic, were met by police presence and nails dumped in the road, the pastor of a Kentucky church said. Democratic Kentucky Andy Beshear had announced that the state would enforce a stay-at-home measure by recording the license plates of any person attending Easter services. Americans in other states, such as in Nevada, Colorado, California, Kentucky, and Pennsylvania, similarly gathered to observe the Christian holiday through drive-in church services. This is a time and weekend, a whole week for multiple faiths, that is about faith. It's about knowing we have faced as people, as Christians, as Jews, as members of many faiths, many difficult, dark times, and we have prevailed, Beshear said Friday. He did not respond to a request for comment from the Daily Caller News Foundation. Kentucky state troopers recorded the license plate numbers of those who attended an Easter Sunday service at the Kentucky Maryville Baptist Church, leaving notices on the windshields of the 50 churchgoers' cars, and warning those persons to quarantine for 14 days or else face further enforcement measures, according to USA Today. Maryville Baptist Church had also received a state-backed order from the Bullitt County Health Department ordering the church to immediately cease in-person gatherings, the publication reports, but Reverend Jack Roberts held a Wednesday service regardless of the order. Roberts said that he arrived at the church Sunday to find nails dumped at church parking lot entrances, USA Today reports. The Kentucky State Police did not respond to DCNF's question asking if they knew where the nails came from. Related stunning and unconstitutional judge grants restraining order after KY mayor vowed to record license plates of Easter churchgoers. Of all the places to keep you from, they should have put them down at the liquor store, keep people from getting drunk, going home and killing somebody on the way, Roberts said, Fox News reports. They could have put them down at the abortion center. They could have saved some lives down there, maybe. It was sad when we drove into the house of God today, the pastor told his congregation, the publication reports. Someone decided it would be nice if you all drove home with flat tires today. Roberts did not respond to a request for comment. Photos posted by the Courier-Journal show police officers putting notices on cars, nails on the road, and a man holding signs that read Tyrant Beshear, and without KSP Beshear is just a guy with bad ideas. The notices accuse those in the cars of creating scenes of an emergency, according to Fox News. Other lawmakers had imposed similar restrictions as Easter Sunday approached. Greenville Mayor Eric Simmons had banned in-person services as part of Mississippi's shelter-in-place order, the Daily Mail reports, though the order did not specify that drive-in services were banned. Video footage shows police shutting down Reverend James Hamilton's drive-in service at King James Baptist Church in Greenville, Mississippi. I'm a good citizen, I ain't breaking no law. I ain't selling no drugs. I'm just preaching the word of God. Look at all these police cars here. Hamilton can be heard saying in a viral video he posted Thursday. He did not respond to a request for comment from the DCNF. Content created by the Daily Caller News Foundation is available with...
Wow, so you hear that right there. Well, if they tell you you can't assemble as a church, they're telling you all those things. They're telling you you can't read the Bible. They're telling you you can't pray. They're telling you you can't assemble as a church. It's exactly what they're saying. See, when you don't have a church and you're not a part of it, you don't see the Bible that way. You see it totally through foreign eyes, as if we can live separately from God's churches and live fine like that, and it's like an abstract. The rest of the Bible is like abstract. But when you understand what the scriptures say, you can't live like that. And when you follow them and you're willing to obey them, you can't live like that. Because that's exactly what they are telling you. When a governor makes an order and says the church can't congregate together, that's exactly what he's doing. He's prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That's what he's doing. And that's what Peter said, we would obey God rather than man. That's what happened in the history of America. That's what Americans always fought against. Back in the colonial days, that's what they had to fight against. And if we don't fight against it, then we lose. But anyway, so we just got to keep praying for folks out there that are trying to do what's right out there, with dealing with church and everything else, because that's the battle that's going on right now. And in some ways, it's probably a good thing in the sense that it makes people be vigilant. right? It makes them be vigilant. It makes people wake up and care about their church and care about serving the Lord. That's what it does. It wakes people up to what's really going on around them, to take their spiritual walk in their life very serious, which is what the Lord wants us to do, by the way, to take our walk with him very serious. But what we have here is a bunch of... Now, what happens when it does come to the point that, if it does come to the point that they see people, you know, well, here's one. Let me show you this. Look at this. That's interesting, isn't it? That word spy is 12 times in the Bible. That number 12, 12 apostles, right? Think about the number 12. That's interesting. And that because of false brethren, unawares brought in, who came in privily to spy out our liberty, which we have in Christ Jesus, they might bring us into bondage again. You know, I've seen the devil plant some tares inside the Lord's church, and I've seen this happen straight up, that they were plants by Satan and they didn't even know it. I'm not talking about government plants, although I think I've ran into some of those too in church before. I think I've had some of those people that were government plants come in. That's right, be found in Christ. There is no difference. That's right. But, you know, I think that the Bible says here that to spy out our liberty. What are people doing right now? What's going to happen in the churches someday? I'll tell you what's going to happen in the churches someday. And it does happen by Satan, but it's going to be, they're going to send people in to spy out the liberty of those churches. The Bible talks about those false brethren unawares brought in. And that because, Paul said that because of false brethren unawares brought in, who came in privily to spy out our liberty, which we have in Christ Jesus, that they might bring us into bondage. Men that creep into churches. Look at that word. Let's see. That word's 12 times too. For there are certain men crept in unawares, who before of old ordained to this condemnation, ungodly men turning the grace of our God into lasciviousness. So it's interesting, isn't it? That you have the the parable, and the tares in the wheat are actually, they're not. Yeah, I mean, that's a different story. But anyway, think about that though. Think about how the fact that they're sowed in church, and think about the fact that these men crept in unawares of old, who are men of old ordained. They're false brethren. They come in. So you're setting up this like spy network of like religious people that are going to narc off other people and think that they do with God's service when they do it. That's what's being set up with all this too. When it's going to be illegal to go to church, right? Anyway, so it's an interesting subject, isn't it, to talk about? It's interesting how things have went. Okay, does anybody have any questions at all or anything? I'm pretty much done with what I have. I don't think I have any more that I wanted to really cover today. Although they are saying that governors face tough decisions as coronavirus lockdown set to expire by May 1st. As of Monday morning, the states whose lockdown order expires May 1st are Alabama, Alaska, Arizona. And we're not on that list. Ours is like May 4th. Florida, South Carolina, and Texas have already lifted some restrictions. A Republican in Florida gave the green light for some outdoor areas in the state to reopen late last week, even as he cautioned that social distancing guidelines should remain in place. Yeah. The state was one of the last in the nation to order a lockdown and was heavily criticized for leaving beaches open during, which I don't see why you wouldn't leave them open. Being out in the sun and burning that out is what you're supposed to do. In nearby South Carolina, Republican Governor Henry McMaster is set to announce on Monday that the reopening of the state beaches and some retail stores. McMaster already reinstated last Friday's access to public boat and ramps. So South Carolina, I like South Carolina. Under the loosening of lockdown orders, South Carolinians will be able to head to the beach, albeit while practicing social distancing, as well as furniture, jewelry, clothing. Beaches and retail stores in the Palmetto State have been closed for just over 2 weeks. Governor Abbott announced over the weekend that state parks will reopen for recreational activity on Monday, so long as citizens wear masks and maintain it. Who's going to wear a stinking mask? It's just so ridiculous. Subsequent measures will allow hospitals to resume elective tests and surgeries, while stores can restart retail to go to services. Abbott first issued an order telling Texans to stay at home starting April 1st, but he never accepted that it was stay-at-home lockdown in the same manner as those adopted by other states. The order is set to expire on April 30th, which puts Texas on track to match the federally suggested timeline. Anyway. Trump said liberate Minnesota, Michigan, liberate Virginia, all these other things. So there's definitely a war going on here between state and local government and trying to decide what they're going to do with all that, right? That's where it's at, folks. That's the game plan. And as far as the churches go, churches are not subject to those orders if they stand up and they do what they're supposed to do. If churches stand up and fight for their rights under the Constitution, but see, here's the problem: most of them are 501c3s, and most of them are going to deal with most of them are going to deal with their incorporation if they try. Most of them aren't going to defy the government anyway. Most of them will not do that. They are not the Baptists of old. They are not the believers of old that fought the federal government, that fought the king, that fought against tyranny. That they're not the ones that fought for religious liberty. They're not the same type of people. So, unfortunately, they're not the same. They don't understand that fight for liberty that those Baptist forefathers, that our Baptist forefathers fought for. They don't understand those men like Patrick Henry. Right? You know, they're not like those men. They don't understand the fight and the war that was there. You know, they just don't. They don't even have they don't have the understanding of why we have separation of church and state. They don't and when you hear these people say that there's no such thing as separation of church and state, it's because they don't know what they're talking about. There is a difference, and it was fought for many years, but they're ignorant of that difference. They're absolutely ignorant of it. Unfortunately, that's the way that it is. Extremely ignorant of separation of church and state. So it's a sad thing, to be honest with you. Anyway, so I don't know if you guys have any questions or anything like that. I'm going to get ready to get out of here and get some other stuff done here for the afternoon before I go home. But anything at all that you guys have any questions? Hey, how about anybody else on there who's listening on there that hasn't said anything yet? Maybe you're listening on here and you know, you haven't told us or talked to us about anything. I wonder if, you know, how you heard about us or how long you've been listening to us on here. Let's get the likes up here. We had about, 80 people on here, I think it was, earlier. There's less now as we taper off, but we have 32 likes on there. If you could get it up, let's get up to around 50 or so before we get that off of here. But anybody listening, any first-time listeners out there, anybody listening that hasn't said hi yet, is it okay to have church over the phone or online? I don't think there's a way to have church over the phone. You mean, is it okay to broadcast your sermons? Sure, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I broadcast sermons all the time, but that's not the church. You know, the church is a local assembly of called out Bible believers that assemble together. So, you know, while it's good that you do that, that's not the church. The church is an assembly. I have not read Orwell's 1984. Veronica Taver has been listening for a few months, huh? Good for you. How'd you find us on YouTube here, or did you find us through Sermon Audio, or how'd you find us? Just curious about that. How you ended up finding us. Let's see here.
Marvelous message we bring.
Nehemiah asked the question, what if you can't find a good local church? Move. That's what I think you should do if you can't get one started there, if you can't get help to start one there, or you can't get something going there, then I would do what I had to do to get out and get to a place where there's a good church. That's what I would do. I believe it's vitally important for God's people to be in church today, to be a part of a local assembly. Absolutely. I believe you ought to be ordained to be trained and know the Bible and have men examine you and lay hands on you before you start a church. I don't believe you start a church just because you want to. I believe that what the scriptures say, that to ordain elders in every city, that's what he told them.
Just the chorus, please. This is my story. This is my song. Praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story. This is my song. Praising my Savior all the day long. Rest in the perishing and for the dying, stand in waiting on sin and the grave.
Chaz Wazzer said, did I get those videos that I sent to you on Facebook? I don't know who you are on Facebook, so I wouldn't know if I got them or not. You'd have to explain that a little bit further, what you sent me. Everybody. Anyway, I'm going to let you go now. Hope you're all doing well and have a good night. And no, I don't have any teachings on the Church of Wells. I don't think I've ever even heard of it. So that's a new one to me unless it goes by a different name, but I don't remember that name at all. So anyway, we'll touch base with you again on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we'll have Pastor David Ickes with us. And we'll be talking about the universal invisible church theory and how it is not biblical. So anyway, I look forward to that. We'll talk to you soon. Keep praying for us.